respect our country, respect our flag, and respect our national anthem.
So in the words of my late friend Aretha Franklin, show some R-E-S-P-I-C-T.
When Aretha first told us what R-S-P-E-C-T meant to her, when you hear how great the economy is doing right now, let's just remember when this recovery started. Suddenly, Republicans are saying it's a miracle.
This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone.
Chief, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Time and time again, the US have warned Syria both against the use of conventional weapons during this Idlib offensive, but also specifically against the use of chemical weapons. However, it appears the Assad regime is just not listening. As the offensive starts to gear up, US envoy to Syria Jim Jeffrey and other US sources say there is now mounting evidence Bashar al-Assad has given the green light for his military to use chlorine gas.
But there was a report from the last night, Sunday night, late at night, Wall Street Journal, Rupert Murdoch's magazine, claiming that we have great concern about a gas attack. We know there's going to be a gas attack, and we have to retaliate and be prepared because, in essence, and we mentioned this last week with Haley, Nikki Haley. Oh, we know who's going to do it. Yeah. They're already set the whole thing up in saying that Assad's going to do it. Assad's going to gas his own people. Yeah. You don't believe in national defense, and yet they're gearing up for this again. And I keep thinking, this is just unbelievable that they'll buy into this again. But as far as I'm concerned, they'd have a tough time convincing me, in spite of all the shortcomings of the Syrian government, that they're stupid enough to, do this.
So I came back to see him a few weeks later. And by that time, we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today. And he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
I frankly think that crisis initiation is really tough. And it's very hard for me to see how the United States president can get us to war with Iran. Which leads me to conclude that if, in fact, compromise is not coming, that the traditional way of America gets to war is what would be best for U.S. interests. Some people might think that Mr. Roosevelt wanted to get us into World War II, as David mentioned. You may recall we had to wait for Pearl Harbor. Some people might think Mr. Wilson wanted to get us into World War I. You may recall he had to wait for the Lusitania episode. Some people might think that Mr. Johnson wanted to send troops to Vietnam. You may recall we had to wait for the Gulf of Tonkin episode. We didn't go to war with Spain until the until the Maine exploded. And may I point out that Mr. Lincoln did not feel he could call out the Federal Army until Fort Sumter was attacked, which is why he ordered the commander at Fort Sumter to do exactly that thing which the South Carolinians had said would cause an attack. So if, in fact, the Iranians aren't going to compromise, it would be best if somebody else started the war.